starting off strong with her gigantic and expensive entourage to walk 3 city blocks. Apparently, she was staying at the Metropolitan when she decided to walk to the Dorchester restaurant, which was 3 blocks away. Instead of having her personalized bodyguards or a small group of people to keep her safe, she insisted she hire 7 limos so she could travel the 200 yards from point A to point B without being bothered. Afterwards, she claimed that exercise and working out is something that makes her the happiest in life. Like, walking 200 yards with a full entourage is truly exercising. The entire situation is so bizarre and out of touch, you can't help but recognize it as diva behavior. At number 9, we have how she got someone fired for asking for an autograph. A hotel maid asked her for an autograph, which is totally respectful, because she's literally Jennifer Lopez. But it was how she responded that made her such a diva. When the maid asked her very politely for an autograph, nothing came of it. But a day later, the maid received a phone call from the cleaning company she was employed with to let her know that Jen complained about it, and she was fired from that point on. What makes the situation worse is that the hotel tried to deny it happening to maintain its image. Not only is it shady, but the maid risked it all for little reward. Who would think that Jenny from the block would be such a princess about a fan? At number 8, we have the diamond-encrusted headphones. It makes sense to have sound-canceling headphones with you, especially when you have sensitive ears. But when they're entirely diamond-encrusted and worth almost $6,000, it's too much. One of the more infamous moments she wore the headphones was when she was showing up to the World Music Awards on her personal speedboat. And it wasn't just personalized to her, it was completely custom made, with custom love seats that were faux leather and champagne coolers. But because the boat on the water was just too loud, she had the noise-canceling headphones, and like I mentioned before, they were entirely diamond encrusted. Like regular headphones just weren't enough. At number 7, we have how she won't respond to her flight attendants. She has her own private jet with her own personal flight attendants, and she wouldn't even make conversation with them. It was in 2012 when she was in hot water for it because one of her flight attendants came forward saying that she was ghosting her. The attendant in question came up to her and a few of her guests and asked if she wanted anything to drink. Jen looked at her, turned her head away from her, and told her personal assistant to tell the attendant that she would like a Diet Coke with a lime. Obviously, this is jaw-dropping behavior for anyone, even if it is on par for Jen. At number 6, we have $20 million to be a judge. While she was one of the hosts on American Idol, she was charging $20 million a season. And to add to it, she even bought out Simon Cowell for $12 million so she could replace him. And to prove how much of a diva she really is, her appearance alone rejuvenated the show, so they were willing to cough up the big bucks just to keep her. She wouldn't just judge people on their talent though, she would often judge people on how they smelled. But according to her, at least she didn't judge people on how they looked. Like that's any better. At number 5, we have how the construction crew was not allowed to make eye contact with her. It makes sense when one person's staring too aggressively or with weird intentions. But when it's a huge group of people, it's a little excessive, even for diva behavior. She'd hired a crew to refurbish her mansion home, and if she was around them, they were not allowed to make eye contact with her, and they weren't allowed to speak to her at all either. But that's not all. A lot of her previous helpers said the same thing, like her drivers and other caretakers. She actually ended up selling that home for $27 million and bought a new one the same year for $40 million. At number 4, we have how she wouldn't shoot a commercial where she grew up. We know from her song Jenny from the Block that she grew up rough, and she makes it a point to share her story of triumph and overcoming the odds. But when she refused to film in the Bronx, people were taken aback. She makes it a point to seem like she still has strong connections to her roots there, but refuses to film there. It could definitely be for her own safety, but if she was so deeply connected, you would think she'd want to go back. She was actually filming a Fiat commercial, and they wanted to tap into that part of her, but she would only film in LA, and they required a body double to film the scenes that were in the Bronx. I suppose no matter how deep your roots go, fame overcomes that. At number 3, we have her very specific food demands. We know that the diva makes very specific demands, and that doesn't stop when it comes to food or drink. When she was touring back in 2010, she required a completely white room with top to bottom furniture and everything all in white. She also required no catering in the actual room aside from the drinks, which included, but were not limited to, room temperature refrigerated Gatorade, Coca-Cola regular and diet, a lemon wedge with smart water specifically, fruit punch, and plain M&Ms. If they weren't plain, she'd freak out. Also, if she was going to receive a piece of apple pie, it had to be a la mode, or else she'd flip her lid as well. As if it wasn't hard enough to keep her happy, any food catering was to be left outside the door by the person bringing it. Another insane food demand of hers is that when she orders breakfast at a hotel, it needs to be piping hot no matter when she arrives or when it arrives to her room. And if it's not, she'll throw a fit. But it's not just a regular order either. It's scrambled eggs, bacon, pancakes, and the rest of the 9 yards. At number 2, we have her specific relationship requests. If you want to be with her, you've got to jump through hoops to prove you're worth the position. When she was still with Alex Rodriguez, she claimed she really loved his physique, but if he ever lost it or let himself go, she wouldn't be able to stay with him because that was a deal breaker, and she wouldn't marry him if it wasn't a guarantee that he would remain his shape. And that's not all. She also said that if they were going to be together, he was banned from speaking to any woman under the age of 40, in case he tried to get any ideas. She was 49 at that time, and him having a conversation with someone younger than her made her jealous and uncomfortable. And last but not least, at number 1, we have how she claims she isn't a diva. You know you've become fully out of touch when you do everything on this list and still claim you aren't a diva. She says she doesn't deserve the title of being a diva because she doesn't feel like she is, which makes next to no sense. But her support for that claim is that she worked very hard to get where she is and that she's still a hard-working person.
From being hid in suitcases to private jet use, here's our list of the top 10 outrageous Taylor Swift demands that will leave you speechless. Starting off, we have Hide Me. Now Taylor loves to hide in random places and have her team push her around. In 2017, she was hiding from the public due to her Kanye and Kim feud. Now she didn't want people seeing her, and her fans speculated that she was hiding in a black suitcase that was always seen around her building, even though Taylor herself was never spotted. Then in an interview with British Vogue, Zayn Malik seemed to confirm the long-standing rumor that Taylor actually does sometimes travel inside a giant suitcase. When asked about his relationship with Taylor and her ability to avoid paparazzi, his eyes went wide. She was traveling around in a suitcase, he revealed. Not to mention, one of her neighbors confirmed it to a gossip blog as well. Now, it appears that for her Eras tour, she's hiding in a janitor's cart so fans don't see her backstage. Fans who attended her concert in Arlington, Texas had finally caught her in the act. Now, prior to the show, fans noticed a large janitor's cart was being rolled towards the stage each night before the concert began, and they speculated that Taylor may have been hiding inside. Now my question is, are these things made to order for her? What else has she hidden? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Next up is her green room. Showbiz reporter Dean McCarthy has said that in Taylor's green rooms, she needs an iced Americano from Starbucks delivered to her room at 11 a.m. Dean went on to say when she first started in the industry, she only wanted snacks in her dressing room. She used to just have edamame, beans, and some water and some snacks. But the Los Angeles-based reporter said as Taylor has become more popular, so have her demands while touring. Now she's gone to another level, he said. There's Red Bull, the energy drink, macaroni and cheese, and by 11 a.m. every single day of her tour, she has to have her Starbucks iced Americano delivered to her room. But hey, I think this could be way crazier. Then there's I can use my private jet. In the summer of 2022, Taylor was one of several celebrities who were called out for their private jet usage, which can contribute to an excess of CO2 emissions and harm the environment. Now a study from the marketing firm Yard named Taylor as the #1 offender, alleging in a report Taylor's shortest recorded flight of 2022 was just 36 minutes, flying from Missouri to Nashville. Now she was accused of polluting the earth by flying her private jet 170 times between January 1st and July 29th. Now, the research gathered by Yard shows results for which celebrities are the worst private jet CO2 emission offenders, with Taylor racking up more than 22,000 minutes in the air, or the equivalent of 16 days. Now, a spokesperson for Taylor issued a statement at the time noting, Taylor's jet is loaned out regularly to other individuals. To attribute most or all these trips to her is incorrect. Now, why even have a private jet though if you don't use it? Moving on to dating rules. We all know that Taylor and Travis Kelce have been dating for a while now, and it's been said that Taylor has set some crazy rules for him. Friends claim that Taylor has asked Travis to FaceTime her, not just text, when they're apart, with a source noting that she didn't overtly say it, but she secretly wants to see where he is and who he's with. Taylor's a good judge of character and fears that some of his buddies are red flags. And it seems like Taylor just wants him to make good choices. It doesn't seem like she's trying to be so controlling. But this isn't all though. It's also been reported that additional rules for Travis include not going to strip clubs and getting pictures clicked with female fans. Now, this rule is to avoid any misleading dating rumors, but it appears the Chiefs star broke this rule when he went to a club with Patrick Mahomes as he continued his Super Bowl celebration. He visited a club in Las Vegas on February 23rd, and according to Daily Mail, Travis was spotted surrounded by women and was seen speaking to some of them as they partied together. Now let's talk about Credit Me. In April 2016, when Taylor was still dating Calvin Harris, he released his iconic collab with Rihanna, This Is What You Came For. Now, it's a great song, but it didn't take long for some Swifties to notice that there's one particular ooh 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 in the background that sounds a lot like Taylor. Now, some of the fans were called crazy for this, but then a couple months later, it turned out that they were right, which leads us to the identity of Nils Schaborg. Now, Taylor didn't just provide backing vocals for the song, she actually helped Calvin write it. It was a big mess when the news was revealed, as it was just after their breakup, and Calvin actually denied that Taylor helped. There was a co-writer listed on the song credits called Nils Schaborg, and no one had ever heard of him, so Swifties just assumed that was Taylor's fake name for the track. Now, of course, they were right, which she confirmed by putting the name on a gravestone in the video for Look What You Made Me Do. She later told Paul McCartney in her conversation for Rolling Stone, I wrote under the name Nils Schaborg because those are the two most popular names of Swedish males. So, there you have it. Then there's change your style. Something else that Taylor seems to have an issue with Travis is his wardrobe. And I mean, I can't blame her. I've seen some pics of clothes he's worn in the past and they are just straight up ugly. Though she admits she's no fashionista, Taylor splashed out $500,000 to help Travis dress better, alleges a source, pointing out that the singer's own Super Bowl look alone cost over $60K. Taylor says she's not changing him, it's an evolution. Hey, if Taylor's willing to splash out the cash for this new look, why not embrace it? Now, the source said the bottom line is that she feels they could really be endgame. She doesn't want to control him, just help. He's under a microscope now, more than ever, noting the headline-making athlete currently appeared in commercials. Now, Taylor's on tour and she sings 40+ songs and performs for over 3 hours a night. Now, her shows are intense and you need to prepare for that. Taylor revealed her exercise routine and it is crazy. The tour required intense physical, mental, and emotional requirements, and Taylor told Time in an interview for 2023 Person of the Year that she wanted to subvert the fans to repay them for the effort they put in to attend her career retrospective concert. Taylor began getting into shape for the Eras Tour 6 months before her tour kicked off in March in Glendale, Arizona. Now, her training regimen included running on the treadmill every day while singing the entire Eras setlist aloud, fast for fast songs, and jog or fast walk for slow songs, following a specialized strength, conditioning, and weights program at her gym, and doing 3 months of dance lessons. Before the show started, Taylor says she and her team camped out in the Glendale Stadium. We actually got to be in the stadium for almost a month, running the show several times a week, she said, so that was extremely helpful. Now, unlike on her previous tours, during which Taylor said she behaved like a frat guy, she stopped drinking alcohol to prepare more rigorously. I was really disciplined about drinking, she said. I stopped drinking for a couple of months before the show, except for on Grammy night, which was hilarious. I gave myself a fun night for that one. She then kept up that practice throughout the tour's run. Doing that show with a hangover, she said, I do not want to know that world. And hey, I don't blame her. Now we have Stop Tracking My Private Jet. In late December, Taylor's team hit up Jack Sweeney, a junior studying information technology at the University of Central Florida. In the letter, attorneys from the law firm Venable accused Jack of effectively providing individuals intent on harming her with nefarious or violent intentions a roadmap to carry out their plans. Now, Jack provided the link to that letter in an email to the Associated Press, and in that message he emphasized that while he never intended to cause harm, he also believes strongly in the importance of transparency and public information. One should reasonably expect that their jet will be tracked, whether or not I'm the one doing it, as it is public information after all, he wrote. Now, a spokesperson for Taylor echoed the legal complaint, saying that the timing of the stalkers suggests a connection to Jack's flight tracking sites. Now, the problem was that he was updating in real time, which could put Taylor in danger, and her team wanted it to stop. She has had some very scary run-ins with stalkers, so I don't blame her for not wanting her live location updated all the time. Up next is Don't Ask Me About Karlie Kloss. In 2014, Taylor and her BFF Karlie Kloss were seen kissing at the 1975 show back in December. And Taylor's response to this? She tweeted about the gossip saying, "As my 25th birthday present from the media, I'd like you to stop accusing all my friends of dating me. #thirsty." Hey, you can kiss someone without dating them, but the idea of Taylor and Karlie being in a relationship was then born. They even have a ship name, Taylor. Now, there's a side of the Taylor Swift fandom that believes that Taylor is secretly gay and that she's dated many women and left Easter eggs about these relationships in her music, but hey, she just wants you to stop accusing her of dating her friends, regardless of gender. And finally, there's Don't Hurt My Fans. A lot has happened at the Eras tour, but while performing in Philadelphia in May 2023, fans were shocked to see something that's never happened before. In a viral video, Taylor is mid-performance of her hit song Bad Blood when she notices something in the crowd that catches her attention. It appears that security were scolding a fan in the front row, and upon seeing this, Taylor took it upon herself to intervene. Noticing that the fan hadn't done anything wrong, Taylor said between lyrics, "She's fine," while motioning at security. Continuing to flawlessly perform the song, Taylor then shouted she wasn't doing anything to the security guard in question before starting to walk to a different part of the stage. However, the guard either didn't realize that she was talking to him or didn't care, and when Taylor noticed that they were still bothering the fan, she turned back and yelled, "Hey, stop." Needless to say, the star was widely praised for standing up for her fans. Don't mess with Swifties, especially in front of Taylor.
When asked to appear in a video for a charity song benefiting African AIDS program in 2001, J.Lo agreed, but only under the right conditions. In exchange for her 90 minutes of work to make the video, she wanted a trailer where everything had to be white, including the flowers, curtains, and even the candles. The star also wanted Cuban food, which she reportedly then didn't eat. What's more, the rider included requests for chocolate chip cookies and pie a la mode, but absolutely no tomato, apple, or grape juice. Odder still were the entertainment requirements, which demanded an assortment of music that included Mark Anthony and Matchbox 20. That honestly doesn't surprise me too much, since J.Lo is known for being a diva, one time even replacing a $100 tip her husband put down for the waitress, switching it with a $5 bill. Next up, we have Van Halen. Throughout the 80s, Van Halen had a provision tucked away in their rider. A rider is a set of requests or demands that a performer sets as criteria for performances, and their rider said that backstage bowls of M&Ms couldn't contain any brown ones. On its face, the request sounds really ridiculous, but as all M&Ms taste the same, regardless of color. However, this request was really a clever ploy devised by lead singer David Lee Roth, who wanted to test how committed the promoter was to details. Before the show, Roth would check the M&M's bowl, and if there weren't any brown ones, he'd know it was safe to go on stage. But seeing brown M&M's was a warning sign there may be unexpected trouble. Next up, we have Madonna. It should come as no surprise to anybody who's a fan of Madonna that she has extravagant taste when she goes on tour. According to In Touch Weekly, the pop diva wants to be surrounded by an entourage composed of 200 people. She wants wants 30 bodyguards to look over her for protection and personal chefs to make vegan food exclusively. If that already doesn't seem like too much, furniture is even moved from Madonna's house to her dressing room so she can feel more at home. Wow. Speaking of Madonna on tour, Madonna has recently been in the news. 2 New York City men sued the pop star for starting a show for her celebration tour roughly 2 hours later than the time listed on the tickets. In early January of this year, Michael Fellows and Jonathan Hayden accused Madonna, Live Nation, and the area venue of, quote, unconscionable, unfair, and deceptive trade practices by listing 8:30 p.m. as the start time. The pair also took issue with the show reportedly ending around 1 a.m., which allegedly posed a greater problem for them as they, quote, had to get up early to go to work and take care of their family the next day. Madonna was criticized on social media and by other celebrities following news of the lawsuit, with the ladies of The View talk show taking aim at the singer-songwriter amid the legal development. I personally wouldn't wait 2 hours to get a hot oil massage from George Clooney, much less a concert by anybody, Joy Behar said, while Sarah Haynes added that it was disrespectful to Madonna's fans. Next up, we have Katy Perry. Katy Perry knows what she wants, and it shows in her 45-page rider. Among the things listed on the rider are French lamps, a director's chair with her name on it, a total absence of carnations, and someone whose sole task is to prepare cut-up fruits and vegetables. But what stands out as the most extreme provision in the rider is that the singer reportedly doesn't want anybody who works in her staff to say a word to her before a show, especially not the chauffeurs. So, if you got into the service business on the off chance you could one day mingle with Katy Perry, don't get your hopes up. Our next diva celeb is Justin Timberlake. Pop star and actor Justin Timberlake is one of several celebrities who appear to be very conscious about health and germs, as he requires that somebody goes around and disinfects every single doorknob backstage and at any hotels that he stays in every 2 hours. In addition to this, JT is also known to request that he does not have to share the elevator with anybody when on tour or even at a party, presumably so he doesn't have to make any small talk or have an awkward silence. To top it all off, Timberlake also insists that he and his entourage get the entire floor to themselves at hotels while on tour so they can have some wild parties. Justin has been in the tabloids recently for his rude remarks about ex Britney Spears, who he reportedly cheated on. Timberlake performed a free one-night-only concert on Wednesday, January 31st in New York City to mark his 43rd birthday. In a clip posted to social media, Timberlake took a break from singing at one point in the evening to speak directly to the crowd. I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize to absolutely effing nobody, he said into the microphone as the band played the musical accompaniment of his Jay-Z collab Holy Grail in the background. One of the most successful female artists of all time, Mariah Carey, is also known to be quite the diva, which is reflected in her long rider. She has previously required an attendant whose only job was to dispose of her gum, and she has also insisted on her dressing room being 75 degrees with a lamp or clip light and 24 white roses, as well as fully stocked crystal champagne complete with bendy straws. Her most famous request, however, is one which we can understand, but logistically must be an absolute nightmare for promoters to arrange. Before going on stage, Mariah wants her dressing room filled with puppies, rabbits, bunnies, and any other soft animal, which she states helps to calm her nerves. In recent years though, Carey has reportedly put her diva days behind her and has a much more modest rider. Beyonce demands her dressing room be kept at 78 degrees and asks for chicken legs, quote, heavily seasoned with cayenne pepper and rose-scented candles, and don't have Coca-Cola products anywhere near Beyonce as she only drinks Pepsi. Here are some of the demands. 1 large table for catering dressed with white tablecloths. 4 brand new white towels in the bathroom, 2 for the face and 2 for the body. Hot food includes juicy baked chicken, legs, wings, and breasts. Please season with fresh garlic, seasoning salt, black pepper, and cayenne pepper. Steamed garlic broccoli, lightly seasoned green beans, lightly seasoned steamed spinach. 1 case of Aquafina water, half cold, half room temperature. 1 hot tea, sliced lemon wedges, rose-scented candles, a a lighter for candles, and a CD player. Our next diva superstar is Rihanna. The singer insists on blue or black drapes layered with quote icy blue chiffon. Rihanna also needs an animal print throw rug and has a very specific candle request. Here are some of the demands on the rider: 5 AC power outlets, adequate lighting for a quote relaxed atmosphere, white drapes to cover lockers and or brick, 1 humidifier, 1 large throw rug, plush and animal print, cheetah or leopard. It must be clean as she will walk on it barefoot. 6 candles, 4 small clear square vases with white tulips, no foliage. Second choice, if you can't get the tulips, white Casablanca lilies. Third choice, if you can't get those, white freesia. When Britney Spears performed in London's the O2 Arena in 2011, she demanded a feast of McDonald's bunless cheeseburgers along with 100 figs and prunes, so she could feel like she was getting the full London experience. She also ordered fish and chips with a framed photo of Princess Diana on the side. Yes, she reportedly ordered a framed photo of Princess Diana to be displayed in her dressing room at the venue. The UK publication The Daily Mirror reports, quote, Britney adores the monarchy. Diana was in many ways her inspiration. Perhaps it's because Britney can relate to the superstar loneliness paradox, that feeling of being famous but also trapped. Britney Spears has even admitted that fame made her feel like she was, quote, living on the edge of a cliff. In the first preview of her memoir, The Woman in Me, the pop star opened up about her early years in the spotlight. I envy people who know how to make fame work. Britney was always saying she just, quote, wanted to be normal, but her level of fame at the time precluded her from any semblance of normality. She felt, in effect, trapped, says her former makeup artist. Our final celebrity is the #1 celeb of the year, Taylor Swift. First, make sure if she's arriving before 11 a.m., you've made a pit stop to Starbucks. Here are some of the demands she requires. If arriving before 11 a.m., the following from Starbucks: 1 grande iced caramel latte with 2 sweeteners, also 1 grande iced Americano with 2 sweeteners, soy milk, and 1 slice of pumpkin loaf, 1 stick of butter, 3 boxes of Kraft mac and cheese, 2 4-packs of Red Bull, 1 12-pack of Corona, 1 12-pack of Newcastle beer, 1 bottle of Welch's grape juice, 1 avocado, 1 bag of Twizzlers licorice, 1 case of Smart Water, 1 pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, 1 pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate brownie frozen yogurt. Another thing the pop star demanded was that regular tickets for the Eras Tour concert film be priced at $19.89, a cheeky reference to her re-recorded album 1989, Taylor's version. That sounds all too well and good until it's noticed that AMC typically charges an average of $14.89 for an adult ticket, meaning Taylor Swift is demanding her fans pay more than 30% markup price to see her movie, basically to honor an album that they'll likely be buying for the second time.
Starting off at number 10, we have Christian Bale. Christian Bale is not an easy person to work with, so obviously he would be an absolute pain in the to work for. And after a leaked voice recording showed Bale screaming at his cast on a film, people finally understood how bonkers that he actually is. And his assistant Harrison Chung had such a bad experience working for him that he ended up writing a book about it. The assistant said that Bale would lecture fangirls about bothering him to the point where they started sobbing. And then another time when he received a fan letter, he told Chung the fan should be eliminated with a screwdriver thrust through the eyeball into the brain, which prevents any screaming. That was a quote, by the way, that's literally what he said. And apparently he didn't seem like he was joking either. And his stint working for the actor was so bad, he underwent 5 years of therapy for PTSD to get past the trauma that he put him through. And after hearing this, it makes a lot more sense that he regularly plays like, dark and twisted people. Might not be acting all that much. In at number 9, Kim Kardashian. After Kim fired her longtime assistant Stephanie Shepard, Stephanie spilled the tea on what we all want to know about working for Kim. At the time, she wrote on Instagram, letting go of a bad friend and self-care involves forgiving yourself for your impossible standards and knowing you are worth it. So yikes, clearly she is, talking about a certain somebody. One thing that Stephanie revealed is that Kim apparently takes 1,000 selfies a day. But also, who really is shocked? She also said she is so vain that she has a staff remove plants or objects if they're in the way of a mirror. While on holiday at Punta Mita in Mexico, Kim took 6,000 selfies on her 4-day trip. Kim is also apparently a slob. She would leave clothes everywhere and Stephanie would have to clean them up.
Stephanie also said there would be old food in the refrigerator, the trash would be overflowing in the kitchen, and the bathrooms, no one would go in there. On the one hand, that's pretty gross, but Kim is a busy woman, so I can see why she would be kind of messy. Like, that's definitely not the worst thing that she's done. In at number 8, Anna Wintour. After the movie The Devil Wears Prada, Anna Wintour is probably the first person that comes to mind when talking about people who treat their assistants terribly. And Wintour was exposed by her old assistant at Vogue, Lauren Weisberger. And her time there was so bad, she made a tell-all book about it, which was then turned into the movie that we all know and love, The Devil Wears Prada. The book and the movie portrayed the editor-in-chief as pretty much being the worst kind of boss, emotionally abusive, judgmental, and demanding. Anna actually wasn't too upset about the book or the movie, with her even saying in one interview that she's okay with anything that makes the fashion industry more entertaining and glamorous. Basically meaning that she was behind the film. And even though the movie portrays her as having ridiculous demands, it also portrays her as a successful and powerful woman who knows how to get what she wants. And I'm sure Anna Wintour didn't have any problems with that depiction of her. In at number 7, Jessica Simpson. Jessica is another celebrity that's a total nightmare to work for. And over the years, she's gone through tons of personal assistants, which is never a good sign. And most of the assistants hated working for her, so after they quit, they spilled the tea on how terrible she is. One source told the Star that Jessica Simpson would dine and dash, as in she wouldn't pay the bill when she went to a restaurant. With one assistant adding that Jessica thought her stardom was payment enough. And even nastier, apparently Jessica wears a lot of hair extensions, but when she's done using them, she literally just drops them all over the place, with the assistant saying it literally looks like an animal is on the floor, and that one's pretty gross. Does she reuse those? Hopefully not. And at number 6, Courtney Love. Courtney Love is no stranger to controversy, which is clear from the scandal she has gotten into surrounding her late boyfriend, Kurt Cobain. And when it comes to assistants, she is just as bad. One of her old assistants actually sued her in 2012 for not paying her, and the payment that she was supposed to make was really weird, with her getting paid $30 an hour and a full scholarship to Yale. Apparently she was also not only an assistant, but also a forensic research aide, with her even having the opportunity to work on the Nirvana biopic. But the assistant claims that not only did Courtney not pay her, she also made her work overtime, didn't pay her or the scholarship, and even asked her to do illegal tasks like hiring a computer hacker and posing as a lawyer. Another bombshell was when the assistant said that Courtney Love acted with an improper and evil motive amounting to malice or despicable conduct. Not too sure what that's referring to, but it doesn't sound good. Halfway at number 5, Angelina Jolie. Honestly, having Angelina Jolie on this list is not a shocker, because she seems like someone who would have some pretty strange demands. One assistant of Angelina's named Anna worked at their country estate in the south of France between 2008 and 2010. And apparently she saw Angelina and Brad fight all the time, and they would spend weeks living apart from each other. She also even said that she thought that Angelina was an alcoholic, with the assistant even claiming that when Angelina got too drunk, she would lock her 6 kids into one room. Anna even sued Angelina and Brad for $88,000 for wrongful termination after she took time off for an illness. Not great, Angelina and Brad. And at number 4, Lady Gaga. A few former assistants have spoken out against their terrible time working for Lady Gaga, with one of her assistants, Jennifer O'Neill, claiming that she was an actual monster. And apparently Gaga owed her roughly $400,000 in unpaid overtime during the 13 months that she worked for her. Apparently Jennifer would do literally everything for Gaga and was on call 24 hours a day. The lawsuit states that her duties included ordering Gaga's meals, making sure her outfits were on hand, the promptness of a towel following a shower, and serving as a personal alarm clock. The assistant Gaga had before that also had a terrible experience, with the assistant claiming that Gaga slept and took showers with her because she didn't like being alone. Honestly, that's what would be the nightmare for me. Not the long hours, but the fact that I have to sleep and shower with my boss. I just need my personal space too much for that. And at number 3, Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins' personal assistant had a darker experience with him, and based on his public persona, it's something people would never expect. Kimberly Stokes, a former assistant, worked as Tony Robbins' live-in personal assistant, and even shared her thoughts in a BuzzFeed article about him. She recalls one time where he walked into her bathroom while she was showering and dropped his towel, exposing himself. This wasn't the only time Robbins made a pass at her either. To make matters worse, Stokes was a survivor of abuse as a child, and Robbins knew that. Another former assistant named Kate said she considered seeing Robbins naked as a part of her job, but also saw his teachings as life transforming. And the fact that multiple people have made accusations against him proves that this is really just like a bigger issue for him altogether. And at number 2, J-Lo. This one is not a shock at all to me, because I have covered tons of times how J-Lo is one of the meanest people ever. Her demands are also the most degrading, with her insisting that her employees don't talk to her or even look at her. One of the job descriptions for her assistant was actually obtained, and it read, must have thick skin, be graceful under pressure, resourceful in foreign countries. They must be on call 24/7, be able to change diapers, work on little sleep, and cook if the butler is away. And if you're J-Lo's personal assistant, you have to know when it's J-Lo's snack time. Even though she won't actually say when she's hungry, like you just are always expected to have food waiting and know when she wants to eat. And finally, number 1, Mariah Carey. Is anyone surprised that the biggest diva in the entire music industry is on this list? Because I am certainly not. The assistant named Liana was Mariah's assistant for 2 years, until she was wrongfully fired in 2017, which led her to sue Mariah. According to a lawsuit that she filed and a 32-page complaint, she was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for both Mariah and her former manager. It seems that Mariah's former manager, Stella Stopler, was a huge part of the problem, and she subjected the assistant to tons of like using racial slurs when talking about her. But there were also completely disgusting things that happened there too. And allegedly Mariah's manager tackled her to the ground and then urinated on her. Liana's lawsuit alleges that Mariah knew about the abuse and was even present for a lot of it, but still allowed it to go on. After she complained, she was fired 1 month later. And this is just so insane and nasty, but also I really don't know why that assistant would want to stay working for someone that would do that to her, right? Like instead of suing her for wrongful termination, she should probably sue her for like workplace harassment or something instead. So that's all for the list, guys, but let me know what you're thinking about it down below. Which celebrity do you think was the worst? And who did I miss that could be in a part 2? Because I'm sure there is like so many more stories. But before I head out, I'm gonna shout out some comments for my video on Ellen getting backlash. Janine says, never trust a Kardashian Jenner endorsement. They would endorse the coronavirus for the right price. This is literally the best comment I've ever read. Thank you so much for that. Then Cat Charlie said, okay, maybe be kind should stay as a mantra, not a brand. Very, very smart. Like just make it her little like saying, but don't be branding it. Don't be making it like what you're known for, because you know, she's not really known for that anymore. Then Diamond Knight said, I think maybe she should have sent I'm sorry cards and gift boxes to the people who suffered working on her show and just be low-key about it. I don't really know, I just think that would have been a better idea over this quick money grab idea. Yeah, I think, you know, getting into a horrific scandal and then like asking people for your money is kind of not like a good 1-2 step situation. Probably needs to be some time in between there where people actually like you, maybe you recover some ratings, maybe you get some good press in the media. Yeah, not a good decision on her team's part. Alright guys, that is all for the video today. Thanks so much for being here and sticking around if you made it all the way till the end. I've been your host, Mackenzie Smith, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm Mackenzie, and if you liked the video, give it a like below if you like it. What the Give it, yeah, that makes no sense. Like I said in the last one, I think it's a well-known fact at this point that some celebrities are completely different when there is not a camera pointed in their face. And if you want to know the truth about how a celebrity acts when they completely have their guard down, look no further than their assistants, because their assistants see them night and day when they are at their best, but also their worst. I'm Mackenzie, you're watching Beyond the Screen, and let's get into the top 10 celebrities who were exposed by their assistants part 2. Starting off at number 10, we have Lena Dunham. So obviously Lena Dunham was incredibly busy on the set of her show Girls, as she was the creator, writer, director, producer, and she's the star of the show. And I can understand that when you're frazzled like that, you might not be able to schedule breaks to eat. But as a solution to that problem, Lena Dunham makes her assistants feed her. Like she'll be on set with way too much in her hands, so while she's like reading a script or something, her assistant will be holding the food that Dunham is eating. In one photo of this taking place, Lena is getting fed a quesadilla by her assistant. And for me, that is just so gross on so many levels. And handheld food is definitely a no-go from me, especially with Corona now. Like the thought of literally eating food that someone was just touching is absolutely revolting. And at number 9, Paris Hilton. Of course, Paris Hilton just had to be on this list. And even though she befriended one of her old assistants, Kim Kardashian, it didn't stop her from low-key bossing Kim around and even talking smack about her in her confessionals on her reality TV show. But one thing that Kim exposed about Paris is that for some really high-end purses, the ladies would walk around with them totally empty so that they wouldn't ruin the bag at all. But of course, someone has to hold her stuff, and that person would be none other than her assistant. And of course, there are some rare photos showing all the stuff that the assistants are carrying around, while Paris usually has like a purse and a small dog to hold. And at number 8, Mike Myers. Mike Myers is someone who I've talked about before, and apparently his funny personality is not at all what he's like in real life, and he's incredibly rude to practically everyone. So obviously that attitude would translate over to how he treats his assistants, and he not only treats his own assistant badly, but he also is a complete pain in the ass to the PAs on the late night shows that he is on. One incident was when he was on Conan O'Brien's show, and he was seen bossing around the staff of that show, yelling at them to get him seltzer, Twizzlers, and creamer, which is firstly just super entitled, but secondly, who even asked for like that combination of items? Like, who needs a seltzer and a creamer at the same time? And also the fact that he's bothering PAs who are incredibly busy even without Mike Myers harassing them makes the whole thing just even worse. And at number 7, Amber Heard. I didn't have Amber Heard in my last one, and a ton of you guys wanted to hear about her, so here it is. With the way that she treated her ex-husband Johnny Depp and her other past partners, it's a guarantee that she would be a nightmare to an assistant. And she is. Amber's former assistant Kate James exposed her in a legal deposition that was part of Johnny Depp's defamation lawsuit against her. According to the assistant, Amber would routinely, verbally, and mentally abuse her, usually while Amber was intoxicated with substances like MDMA, mushrooms, and wine, with Kate even saying that she would wake up on edge the morning after Amber's binges because it was common for her to get terrifying texts from Amber in the middle of the night while she was wasted, with Kate going on to say that her time working for Amber is a nightmare that she hopes she's one day able to recover from. And at number 6, Mel B. Apparently the former Spice Girl is a lot spicier than we ever would have thought, and her former assistant completely exposed her for being a shady person. Mel's former assistant was actually a former friend, which makes his treatment even more shocking. The former assistant, Gary Meditayan, filed a lawsuit against Mel after she apparently didn't pay him $200,000 while he worked as her hairstylist and personal assistant. And wow, that is a lot of money. Meditayan was also very close with Mel, but it was at the expense of his own personal life. And because he did literally everything for her, he had basically no life at all. And allegedly he couldn't see his friends or family. He also exposed some pretty dark stuff too, like how Mel at one point was drinking ridiculous amounts, and it caused her to be violent with her own kids. Gary said that at her lowest point, Mel would drink 3 bottles of wine a day and multiple tequila shots, which would make her delusional and paranoid. Halfway number 5, Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera definitely is not even close to the worst on this list, but her request might be the most uncomfortable. Apparently when Christina was married to her ex, Jordan Bratman, they were pretty adventurous in the bedroom, and they would role play a lot, with both of them dressing up in costumes. And I truly could not care less what you want to do with your spouse in your own bed. That is nobody's business. But it was the business of her assistant, who apparently was tasked with picking up all of the clothes and costumes off the floor. And I would definitely be using gloves or like a tong if I was forced to pick that up. Yikes, probably both. And at number 4, Khloe Kardashian. Khloe Kardashian had me really fooled. This whole time I thought she was the perfect housewife, with her house on keeping up always being perfectly clean, and with her pantry being essentially a work of art. But apparently that's all a lie. Even the coveted Oreo jar. And her assistant is really the person that makes that all possible. One of her assistants told Radar Online that Khloe didn't lift a finger, and one of the main jobs of her assistant is making sure that the house is spotless at all times, so it looks perfect on camera, even down to having the perfect number of cookies in her cookie jar. And even though this really isn't that insane of a request, I'm mostly just shocked because I really thought Khloe did it all herself. But Khloe definitely did have her diva moments, and allegedly if the food wasn't displayed the way that she wanted, Khloe would dump it upside down and make them do it all over again. And if that's true, that's next level. And at number 3, Ryan Gosling. Based on the characters that he plays, it would be easy to assume that Ryan Gosling is the perfect guy. He's always playing the charming and handsome guy next door that sweeps you off your feet. But when he isn't acting, he's apparently super strange. And although there's no horror stories of his assistants getting treated horribly, there are some stories that will just make you think twice about what he does behind closed doors. One random fact is that he likes getting waxed. Like, he likes the feeling of getting waxed. And as a person who has waxed my eyebrows for my whole life, I can tell you that it hurts. So that is definitely very crazy. Also, one of Ryan Gosling's housekeepers famously claimed that he walks up the stairs on all fours. Okay? And he also sleeps upside down in bed, allegedly, with his head actually at like the foot of the bed. So clearly, he might have some skeletons in his closet, because that's some weird stuff. Like, there's gotta be more. In at number 2, Selena Gomez. Selena is again another celebrity that really isn't that bad, but a former assistant exposed her for being quite the slob, which is a little hard for me to believe, honestly, because she always seems like so prim and proper, but I guess that is the Disney machine in action. But according to her assistant, she leaves her dishes lying around, and in the assistant's words, she, quote, has a lack of respect for other places and can completely trash a hotel room in less than 24 hours. And the worst part for me is that she apparently leaves makeup stains all over her bed and sheets because she doesn't wash her makeup off. And like, how can you be a celebrity and not wash your face? Like, if the whole world is looking at you, that's even more of a reason to make sure you have a really good skincare routine, come on. Hopefully she's learned from then. She'll also leave food wrappers all over the place, she doesn't clean up spills, and she also leaves her undies lying around for her assistant to pick up. So she's either very, very busy or very messy. Maybe a bit of both. And in at number 1, Naomi Campbell. So I didn't know this before doing this video, but apparently Naomi Campbell is a nightmare on set. And there are tons of documented cases of her just being terrible. And that attitude also translated to her assistants, which she treated horribly. And the most famous incident of this terrible treatment was when she threw her phone at one of her assistants, Amanda Brack. And yikes, that is like on another level. Amanda spoke more about everything when she made an appearance on the Tyra Banks show, saying that Naomi attacked her at least 3 times, spat in her face, and even cut up her passport and threw it in a swimming pool. And like, why a person would ever do that is truly beyond me. Like, what? She also spilled the tea on the phone incident, saying that while Naomi was stressed about flights and luggage, she slammed the phone into her face. And Naomi's hairdresser intervened and basically saved Amanda. But that was not her only nightmare interaction with an assistant. Amy Castaldo also speaks of how she was subjected to horrible treatment, and she endured things like headbutting, biting, pulling her to the ground by her hair, and calling her degrading names. And apparently the phone throwing thing is something that she does like pretty often, and she's also hit a former housekeeper in the face with the phone too. And wow, this woman is an absolute nightmare. So that's all for the list. Let me know what you're thinking about it down below. Who was the worst and who did I miss? Because I used a few of your suggestions to make this list, so I mean, put them down below if you have any more for part 3. But before I head out, I'm gonna shout out some comments from part 1. So Mary Turple said, according to Kate James, Amber Heard was no dream to work for. No, she was not. Thank you so much for saying that. That is why Amber was included in this list. Then James T said, low-key Kim K's assistant was hot as hell. Way hotter than Kim. I'd rather work for Stephanie than Kim K, just saying. I mean, we're all entitled to our own opinion. I think that they actually look really similar. Like, anyone that hangs out with the Kardashians too long just like kind of like morphs into them, the way that they look. And Paula said, that's Hollywood for you, all power and no gratitude. Isn't that the truth, really? It's the fact that they don't tip. Like, I just truly will never get over that. How can you not tip people? So frustrating. Anyways, guys, that is all for the list today. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you made it all the way here, I've been your host, Mackenzie Smith, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
And that's not right.
It's not true at all.
Well, then I shouldn't feel that way.
You shouldn't.
Right. So then please stop badgering me into sitting to meet with you when I have a lot of other things going on as well.
Yeah, but
I can't be present for you if I can't be present for myself.
There are so many celebrities that treat their assistants terribly. I was able to make a part 3 of this series, and it's still as juicy as the last ones. And I still cannot believe that some of these stories are true. But for the ones that were handled in court, we have all sides of the story. I'm Mackenzie, you're watching Beyond the Screen, and let's get into it. Starting off at number 10, we have Lance Armstrong. Lance was exposed by his assistant right around the time that he was being exposed for doping, right after he was stripped of 7 Tour de France titles. His assistant decided it was a good time to come clean about everything, and the assistant, Mike Anderson, told Outside Magazine that Lance came back from Europe with cash stuffed into his pants, with the cash being from sleazy races that he did under the table. Also, Lance would apparently do everything possible to not be tested by the World Anti-Doping Agency, and that's why he got away with it for so many years. And apparently while he was at Livestrong events, which were events to support other cancer survivors, he would allegedly talk badly about the event and say things like, quote, I hate these effing things. Ooh. Lastly, the assistant said he also left his wife in a very, quote, abrupt and cruel fashion, which doesn't say very good things about a person. In at number 9, Whitney Houston. The late singer's assistant Robin Crawford exposed Whitney's private life when she told the truth about her and Whitney's relationship. This was all done in the assistant's tell-all book when Crawford exposed that her and Whitney had a romantic relationship. According to the assistant, Whitney was a lesbian and everyone knew it. But again, this is just what the assistant said, not what we're saying is true. Whitney's mother, Chrissy Houston, was against their relationship, saying it was unnatural for two women to be that close. Even Whitney's husband at the time, Bobby Brown, did not like Robin Crawford, maybe because he felt that something more was going on. Crawford also said she was the first person to tell Whitney's mom about her drug use that ended up taking Whitney's life. In at number 8, David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff was well known back in the day as a classic heartthrob, known for his roles on The Young and the Restless and Baywatch. And he was even so popular that, fun fact, he actually used to hold the record for the most watched man on television, which is crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing. But it seems that his days of being a ladies' man are not over, and I don't blame him at all for that. You know, do your thing, Hasselhoff. But the issue here for the assistant is that one of his old assistants exposed that he actually makes the assistant go up to the women he's pursuing and ask them out for Hasselhoff. This is in the form of the assistant giving the women one of Hasselhoff's business cards, and I don't know if that would impress me. Like someone asking me out on behalf of someone. That could really go two ways. I don't think I'd like it very much. I'd be like, what do you mean, ask me out yourself, Hasselhoff? I don't know. And at number 7, Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande is known for many things, and one of them is the fact that she's been called a diva by fellow celebrities. One of her diva-esque traits is that she likes to be carried around after a long day of walking. And since she's so small, it's probably not a very difficult task for the right assistant, but it's definitely a strange one. And this rumor got so big that Ariana had to address it, and she ended up confirming it to be true. This was in the form of an Instagram post, where the caption was, quote, "Jones carrying me off stage. Post-show ritual when my feet are broken." She also joked about it some more with James Corden in a bit they did where James carried her to a Starbucks while she was ordering her drink. Of course, it was a grande drink. And at number 6, Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart is a very busy and meticulous woman, so obviously she's quite a handful for any assistant, but she knows it and doesn't really care, with Martha admitting in a blog post that she keeps her assistant incredibly busy, with organizing in particular. One task that her assistant had was organizing all of Martha's cosmetics into labeled clear plastic tubs in her basement dressing room. Martha explained it in detail in the blog post, explaining the assistant removes items from the bins and recategorizes every item, reevaluating what is still usable and throwing out expired items. And obviously that entire system seems like a total pain in the ass, especially if Martha makes her do that for all the rooms in the house. But also if you're an assistant for Martha, I mean, you better expect a lot of housework. That is one person, I would not be Martha Stewart's assistant because whatever I do would not be good enough. I swear, she can't even have it. I feel like she would have to be her own assistant. She's so meticulous about everything. Halfway number 5, Garth Brooks. Country singer Garth Brooks' former assistant, Lisa Sanderson, who worked for him for 20 years, not only exposed the star, but also sued him for close to $500,000. Saying in the suit that he was, quote, paranoid, angry, deceitful, and a vindictive man who will turn against those closest to him on a dime. Yikes, so clearly she's not very fond of him. Apparently the assistant also claimed that she tried to get him a career in TV and movies, but his demands were so insane that it never actually happened. With one example citing how he would refuse to work with anyone because he didn't want to share the limelight with other stars. Even saying that he refused a role in the massive movie Twister because he didn't want to be outshined by the tornado. Brooks' lawyers of course denied these claims, but with accusations as insane as that, I don't know how that could be made up. How can someone make up that he was afraid of being outshined by a tornado? That's gotta be true, right? And at number 4, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro actually might be one of the worst cases of treating an assistant terribly, as there's proof of it happening. The actor was actually sued for $12 million for gender discrimination by his former assistant, Graham Chase Robinson. The assistant claims that De Niro made abusive and sexist comments to her, and even would initiate unwanted physical contact. And this treatment was not just allegations, there was actual proof of it on a recorded phone call. In one call, De Niro berated her for not answering, and the audio is shocking. The lawsuit also claimed that one of the reasons she was paid so little was because she was a woman. with De Niro telling her that she could get pregnant using sperm from a married male coworker. She also claimed that he would meet her only by wearing bathrobe or pajamas, and then asked her to scratch his back. So much wrong with all of that. And at number 3, David Beckham. This one is a case of an assistant exposing their employer cheating. But in this one, Beckham was allegedly cheating with the assistant. Back in 2004, the assistant, Rebecca Luz, said in an interview that she had an affair with David Beckham. Allegedly, the affair began with flirting and texting and gradually developed into a bond. But after a while, the relationship was purely physical, which made her feel dirty and cheap. Beckham vehemently denied the claims, and clearly Victoria Beckham didn't believe the claims, or they were able to work it through, as the couple is still together and happily married. And at number 2, Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock's personal life is pretty private, so it's hard to know what kind of boss that she would be. But based on accounts from her past assistants, she can be a bit of a nightmare. One strange request is that her assistant must always make sure the curtains in her home are kept closed at all times. Sandra's also known to have a pretty bad temper when things don't go her way, and unfortunately she takes that out on the assistant. According to one witness, while they were standing in line for a coffee, she berated her assistant for being 5 minutes late. And obviously, there's two sides to every story, but based on that, brief description, seems like a bit of an overreaction, if I do say so myself. And at number 1, Taryn Manning. Taryn Manning is another person who was absolutely awful to her assistant, and it was so bad it had to be handled in court. The former assistant Hillian Hartman reported that the actor was physical with her multiple times, and Manning was later ordered to stay away from the assistant after the two had a vicious brawl at the Dream Hotel in New York that left her assistant covered in bruises. According to a lawsuit that was filed, Manning choked and punched her personal assistant and whipped her with a wet towel. She also sprayed Windex in her eyes and mouth. And of course, after doing something like that, you're gonna feel the wrath of the law, as you should. And Manning was charged with misdemeanor assault and choking. Very, very rightfully so. That is, like, what? I don't even know how a person could do that to another person, I don't understand celebrities.
Before Kim Kardashian leaves the house on a typical day, there will be numerous outfit changes. At least 5 or 6 if her former husband was there, an insider told Radar. Kim will tell one of her assistants to fetch more clothes from her massive closet. And then afterwards, she's gonna discard them on the floor. She's never gonna bother to hang them back up. That's what the assistants are for. And they also have to restock her closet right. If not, they're in trouble. According to the source, Kim is very particular about how she wants sweaters folded. And in one incident, a staffer didn't do it up to her standards, so Kim took one sweater out of the middle of the stack, completely messing up what was just done. Kim's closet was the holy land in the home, and she wanted it to look pristine at all times. She even had staffers stay late at night to organize it after returning from any kind of event. Britney Spears' former longtime assistant and friend, Felicia Culotta, spoke out about her notoriously controversial conservatorship on a couple of occasions. But one of the most shocking claims came when she pretty much confirmed what fans already knew, that Britney's conservatorship had seemingly driven a wedge between her and her inner circle, who had been by Britney's side since the very start of her fame in the late 1990s, was very candid in the 2021 documentary. The New York Times presents Controlling Britney Spears, claiming she felt Britney's dad, Jamie Spears, had pushed her out of Britney's life. It slowly became where I wasn't allowed by her side and wasn't allowed to have a conversation without other people present, which was very odd, Culotta said, suggesting those involved in the conservatorship left Britney isolated. I don't have any way of getting in touch with her at this point. All the numbers that I have for her now are changed. Lindsay Lohan's assistant rolled on her when he spoke to cops after her car accident on Pacific Coast Highway back in 2012, and that's a big reason why things took the turn they did in the justice system, according to TMZ. Cops interviewed Lindsay's assistant at the time, Gavin, shortly after the crash, and this was at the hospital where Lindsay was being treated. And according to law enforcement sources, he told police he was riding in the passenger seat when the accident occurred, and Lindsay was driving. So as you now know, Lindsay told the cops she was a passenger in her Porsche, but authorities didn't believe her, and lying to cops gets somebody in a lot of trouble. Gavin's statement was the final nail in the coffin, when he said he saw Lindsay behind the wheel. Via Twitter, he also posted comments directed at Lindsay, urging her to get help. At Lindsay Lohan, after bailing you out last night, I hope and pray you get the help you so desperately need, he wrote. We are all rooting for you. And shortly after, he posted another message, writing, life is not a movie, it's a reality that needs to be faced. Ouch. Mariah Carey's former personal assistant, Leanna Azarin, claimed she was subjected to battery and harassment during her approximately 2 years of employment before being wrongfully terminated by the singer in 2017. Well, that's according to a lawsuit filed with the Los Angeles Superior Court on the same day that Carrie sued Leanna, accusing her former assistant of secretly filming embarrassing videos in violation of a non-disclosure agreement and trying to extort her out of $8 million. According to a copy of Leanna's 32-page complaint, she says she was hired by Carrie in September of 2015 at a salary of $250,000 per year, which eventually increased to $328,500. Leanna claimed the job entailed her to be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to assist both Carrie and the singer's former manager. According to the lawsuit, Leanna claims the manager subjected her to verbal and physical harm, including repeatedly ridiculing her about her body by putting iPhones, remote controls, and utensils under certain parts. Apparently, the former manager slapped her in body parts and called her names that we can't repeat. On multiple occasions, Leanna claimed the manager tackled her to the ground and then urinated on her. According to the lawsuit, Carrie knew about and was present for much of the alleged mistreatment, but permitted it to continue. And when Leanna complained about the manager's conduct in October of 2017, she was fired 1 month later. So she was suing for battery, discrimination, harassment, and wrongful termination. The manager's attorney couldn't be reached for comment on the allegations. But according to People, Carrie's lawsuit accuses her former assistant of being a grifter, a peeping Tom, and an extortionist, because all of these secret videos were filmed, and apparently Leanna claimed if she released it, it would be personally embarrassing and professionally damaging to Mariah Carey. Leanna displayed the intimate videos to her friends and coworkers and said that if she was ever let go, she'd sell them for a profit and buy herself a home. While some may assume The Devil Wears Prada is an exaggeration of how Vogue head honcho Anna Wintour operates, Amy Odell, the author of Anna the Biography, has learned that the magazine executive can really act as dramatic as the character that was portrayed famously by Meryl Streep. For the book, Odell chatted with some of the fashionista's former assistants, and since they spelled the T anonymously, they didn't bite their tongue. To start, an employee referred to as Assistant A revealed their workday could kick off as early as 7:30 in the morning. The first task is essentially setting up the office. So the reason you came in at 7:30 is because Anna comes in before 8. She might come in anywhere between 7:45 to 8. So 7:30 to 7:45 gives the second assistant the opportunity to gather all the things she'll need for the day, printing out or setting up her schedule, listening to the voicemails and leaving out any messages that might be urgent for her to respond to in the morning, making sure all the periodicals and newspapers that she'd want to read are set out, and then, depending on when she is definitely coming in, potentially getting her coffee and breakfast. According to one report, Anna Wintour always asks for a blueberry muffin from Starbucks, though it mostly goes untouched. Assistant C had a similar play-by-play, noting they'd arrive in the office around 7:30, then you have to respond to any emails that Anna sent over the night before. Then get your own work done. Regardless of their early start to the day, the assistants had to be available around the clock. Requests came in day and night. One assistant had dreams. They would wake up in the middle of the night and think, do I have to check my email? This was Assistant B. She's always talking to you. It would just be constant emails. She was just firing away all the time, always needing something. Khloe Kardashian has found herself in hot water with former assistants numerous times. Most recently, her former assistant, Matthew Manhard, who worked for her from 2019 to 2022, filed a civil lawsuit claiming he wasn't paid for overtime, wasn't allowed to take breaks, and worse. In a lawsuit obtained by TMZ, Manhard claimed he was let go by Khloe in November of 2022 after becoming a member of staff in January of 2019. The lawsuit claimed Kardashian fired him after he returned to work in November following a knee injury from May that prevented him from working. Christian Bale's former assistant, Harrison Chung, wrote an entire book about his time with his former employer, a book entitled Christian Bale, The Inside Story of the Darkest Batman. He wrote some of the wildest things he did for Bale, saying, if Christian was away filming on location, I would take care of his 5 pets, along with stray possums in the backyard. I would do anything from sniffing Christian's armpits for BO right before he hit the red carpet, to making emergency sock runs if he was all out of clean ones. Actress Taryn Manning found a horseshoe somewhere when the criminal case against her for harming her makeup artist was dismissed, with one small string attached. So Manning was arrested after she allegedly punched and kicked her makeup artist / friend / roommate after a night of heavy drinking. She was charged with causing harm and obstruction of breathing or redness circulation. The victim, Holly Hartman, declined to prosecute the case, and a judge granted an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal. To translate, if Taryn keeps her nose clean and does some community service, the arrest and criminal charges go away, as if it never happened. So Holly was Taryn's assistant and makeup artist for a long time, but everything ended. Naomi Campbell isn't exactly the nicest boss to her assistants, as many have claimed. Back in 1998, Georgia Galanis filed a lawsuit against Campbell, saying she struck her with her phone and grabbed her by the throat. Campbell pleaded guilty. 8 years later, another assistant named Amanda Bratt alleged she was struck in the face with a phone numerous times, according to Nicki Swift's website. Another assistant said Campbell gave insane demands, with one, Rebecca White, claiming she put 25 lily-scented candles in any room Campbell wanted. This was according to the New York Post. And finally for today, Lady Gaga, who is embroiled in quite the bitter lawsuit with her former aide Jennifer O'Neill, said it wasn't great. Jennifer O'Neill gave us mere mortals a glimpse into that when, apparently, Lady Gaga once claimed she was the queen of the universe, and O'Neill did not want to be her slave. So in court papers, Gaga whined that O'Neill failed in simple duties, such as laying out her toothbrush and soap so that she knew where they were. Apparently O'Neill lived large off her dime, wore her clothes, bagged the best bed on her private jet, and left poor Lady Gaga to lug her own suitcases. Now meanwhile, the disgruntled O'Neill, who is suing Lady Gaga for $390,000 in unpaid overtime plus damages, testified she was required to sleep in Lady Gaga's bed because she didn't sleep alone, and was expected to be working and available 24/7 for an annual salary of $75 grand. Such hours and demands might seem absurd to those outside of showbiz circles, but to insiders, apparently this is par for the course. There's no such thing as having your own time, but for that minimum wage, not it.